And we are going to begin with some of our questions for the alumni so that we can hear those answers. But before we do so, I wanted to throw up a poll for the attendees. So this poll is going to show up on your screen. You can choose to answer it or not, do not worry. But this just gives us some information about you guys and lets us know a little bit about DePauw senior statistics. So I'm going to throw that up now. So you may click and answer that if you would like. And while you are polling, we're going to talk about Zoom in general. So Zoom has some cool functions. Most of you probably are already using it for classes and other things like that. But on the bottom, you have the raise hand function and the Q&A. So if you have a question during our panel of alumni, if you have a question designated for a certain panelist, you be sure to put that. Or if you have a general question for the panelists in regards to their answers, please also put that in the question, and we will try and answer them as quickly as we get them in. So I will be fielding those questions. And if you have a question, let's just say you need something repeated or something else like that, I will be sure to get to that as quickly as possible. So we have our results in. It shows that of those who have voted, the question was, do you feel as though you have a post-graduation plan? And 100% of the vote was no. So this is why we are here, because I have been in that boat and most of us have too. So we are here to help tonight. So the first question for our panelists, and we'll just go around in alphabetical order, is going to be, and Jordan, do you want to jump in on this as well?
I do.
Okay. Okay, so then we'll go in alphabetical order. So the first question is, how did your DePauw experience get you to where you are today? So I'll let you, whoever is first, go first. How did your DePauw experience get you to where you are today?
I can start if people are okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Perfect. So I would say DePauw played a major role in the path that I am now currently on for my career, as the company that I work for has a very rich history of hiring DePauw graduates, and I was very lucky to have some awesome mentors from DePauw who were able to put me into contact with people at that company. So that'd be my biggest piece of advice to you guys as well, is make sure you network with those DePauw alums. So I would say that meeting those people really helped me get my foot in the door. But in terms of actual DePauw experiences that helped me, working in consulting, there are so many things that are applicable with liberal arts, because you're constantly having to have a new strategy with different clients and be able to put yourself in their perspective and understand what problems they're facing in their business. I think that a lot of the problem solving and the way that I had to look at the world through my econ major, the small classes, the papers through senior seminar, the debates, all of that proved to be very helpful for some of the situations I would end up being in with clients as I was going through and trying to talk them through different change management strategies. And even now through my role with internal projects, it's still very important to continue to hone those communication skills that were definitely put upon me as something that was going to be very important during my time at DePauw.
I can go next.
Oh.
Sorry. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with Rachel. So I'm a clinical specialist and medical assistant at Form Health. So I'm in healthcare. I'm in the healthcare field. Down the line, I eventually want to go and be a provider. But at this point, it's a stepping stone for me in my career. Overall, the DePauw experience has molded me to be the young professional that is needed in the work world right now. And piggybacking off the liberal arts education, the critical thinking and being outside the box thinker, including conversations, discussion boards, debates that were through the classroom, but also outside the classroom learning, especially my experience with study abroad, my internships with WHO and United Nations, and other internships that I had throughout the summers because of DePauw alumni. And then also my academic learning at DePauw really empowered me to deal with the complexity of the real world. So including the dynamics with workspaces, but also with patients and the healthcare field. And that includes the full of diversity and change. So there's a lot of change that goes on in the real world, especially in my field of healthcare at the moment, specifically too. And so I gained a broad knowledge of the wider world through not only my DePauw experience, liberal arts education, but more so my study abroad experiences and internships and just networking throughout my 4 years there.
So my experience is a little bit different because, as Anna said, I'm in graduate school. So I've completed 1 year of law school, and then this year I've been primarily doing my master's program with some law school credits mixed in there too. DePauw obviously was a huge help into getting into graduate school and law school. But I can definitely empathize with not knowing what you're going to do, because about a year ago I picked what law school, like almost to the day, I picked what law school I was going to go to, and then applied for the master's program by May 1st. So if you haven't exactly figured it out and you want to go to grad school, it's definitely okay. Taking a gap year is okay too. I didn't take one because I knew what I wanted to do and I just want to get it over with. But building off of that, DePauw helped so much because law school is known for being just such a heavy, rigorous workload. But the way I've always thought about it is if you did all the reading you were actually supposed to do for class at DePauw, you'd be totally prepared for law school, because it's very similar in that regard. And it's all about critical thinking, writing, and it sounds so simple, but it's reading and writing is all of it. But being actually skilled at that and being able to critically analyze a piece of literature, for example, has been a huge help. It gave me confidence in the classroom, especially compared with all these other smart people in my 1L class, to be able to raise my hand and be like, oh, well, I found this difference or whatever. And just having that DePauw connection has been huge. I have tons of classmates at Mauer who are from DePauw. People just know the name. And so I'm another piece of advice using that DePauw connection in any graduate school, make sure people know where you went to undergrad, because that really, really helps. And it's helped me build friends, even with people I didn't talk to that much at DePauw. Just even people who were graduated a year below me. And just, I wouldn't be able to have those connections without DePauw too.
I can go next. My experience at DePauw has really prepared me, and really starting where I was in terms of, as an undergrad, what do I really enjoy doing? One of the things that I enjoyed on campus was having opportunities to speak, and any way I can influence or move courses of action on campus, whether it's activism or anything else I was involved in. So for me, one of the things I really enjoyed doing was being a tour guide on campus. And what I really enjoyed about being a tour guide was the opportunity to speak to highly talented high school students, like you all once were, who visited campus. You show them around, show them some of your favorite places, and you kind of have the opportunity to help them fall in love with campus. And you have these, highly talented students who are now going to join your campus. And I kind of saw that as pretty cool, because, it's you kind of build your own team. DePauw is the best school in Indiana to me. It's the best school in Indiana, period. You may want to debate me. We're not going to have that debate. And, to recruit some of those students was pretty cool. And I kind of saw it as a way to take a really good student away from another school secretly, but in the process, get a dope new tiger on campus. So essentially, when it came time for graduation, I enjoy speaking and I enjoy recruiting for DePauw, essentially. How can I make it a little bigger? So I decided that if I was going to get better at it, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone of being a tour guide for DePauw. So I moved out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I had no friends or family there. And I went to a university known as Marquette University, pretty known for their basketball team. D-Wade went there. And I got in touch with the Milwaukee alumni chapter. And so many alumni welcomed me with open arms. Wherever you go in this country, when you graduate from DePauw, get in touch with the alumni chapter. because when you reach out just to let alumni know that you're in the area, you're in the city, you'll be surprised how many are willing to go out to lunch with you, or at least welcome you to the city to where you don't feel as alone. And that was really helpful for me going out to Milwaukee. And then I started to, I was an admissions counselor for Marquette University, so I was recruiting for them, and eventually became an idea of, hey, how can I make this a little bigger now? So I then transitioned back to New York, joined Manhattan College, where I recruited for their graduate programs and their MBA programs and master's degrees. And so the next step after that was, how can I make it just a little bit bigger? And so now I'm in my position where I work with companies in the pharmaceutical and biotech spaces. Many of my clients are currently working on responses to COVID-19, whether it's vaccines or treatments. Some of them are, Fortune 500, some of the largest companies in the world, and I'm helping them pick out the right talent to join their organization, specifically in my position, helping them with the process of working with the FDA. So when we think about these treatments and these vaccines, they have to be approved by the FDA. So I'm sort of helping them find the right talent that's going to help in that process. And I think starting as a tour guide to now working with some of the frontline people who's going to help us during this crisis, it kind of came full circle for me. And it all just came with the question of how can you make it just a little bit bigger from where you are. Sorry, that was extremely long-winded, and I apologize.
I could go next. So I agree with everyone on just like the whole liberal arts education. Going into DePauw, I didn't think I was going to take like computer science classes and like philosophy and econ. So for me, that was important because I knew that somehow in the future it was going to benefit me, and it did. So being in HR, you're kind of always, you're working with people constantly, and especially right now with COVID, just putting it out there, it's just myself and my manager and our HR team. We have over 150 employees. So knowing how to navigate certain situations and being able to talk to people and different personalities has helped me a lot. And I kind of give thanks a lot to DePauw because I think about times where I was in classes or group projects where, sometimes not everyone in the group works well together. Everyone has different learning styles and how that can affect your overall grade as, group. So just like learning how to navigate through those kind of situations has helped me a lot in terms of my job, and knowing how, to people task and how to talk to people, especially during these times. People are very scared of what's going to happen. So I've been reflecting a lot, and with this question, when I saw it previously, I definitely do think back to when I was applying for this position. It was pretty vigorous. It was like a 3-interview process. And I remember that there was times where like, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get this job? Like, there's some people competing for it. And the person that I was competing with had more experience than I did. And I remember that going into my interview, I was telling the team, like, coming from like a liberal arts school, like I was exposed to like many different subjects, things that maybe someone else that you're interviewing hasn't, a lot of times people are not from liberal arts schools. So kind of bringing that up and saying that like how well-rounded I am and just being exposed to many different things can contribute a lot to this position. And I mean, I got the position, so I think it helps in some way. But, I think always bringing up that liberal arts education is very important, and it's also very powerful. A lot of times, like I said, people don't see the value of like how important it is, and it's just very, very important. So I think that just like DePauw overall has helped me with pushing my goals and not giving up in terms of a lot of things. Because I always think back during finals, and I'm like, Yesenia, you did all 4 years without doing all-nighter, and you did great. So think back to those hardships, and you could do anything. So that's my motivation when I'm going through like tough times. Like I think back to finals and senior seminars. So yeah.
So I was a comm major at DePauw. I loved all the comm classes. Kent Menzel was my advisor and my favorite professor on campus. And my background was actually in event management. So I was working with some not-for-profits, some entertainment agencies when I was in college. And that's what I thought I wanted to do. I'm doing nothing thing that I thought I was supposed to do back in college. My senior year, I took a fellowship in New York that I learned about through a senior, Tamisha McGuire, who helped me and said, hey, like, you're really great in comm, like, you're a really great speaker, you're energetic, like, you will be dope in a classroom. So she signed me up and I went and fell in love with teaching. And so I took some classes with Eva Wise and Jamie Stockton in education. And it was like, okay, education is pretty cool, senior year, junior and senior year. So I decided to take on it. But it really was my connections with DePauw who helped steer my career so far. So it was a DePauw senior who put me on to teaching in New York. I have a mentor, Marcus Robinson, who was also a DePauw alum, who's been my mentor throughout the years. DePauw alum helped with my transition to becoming an assistant principal a few years ago back in Texas. And DePauw alum also helped me assist back now as an instructional coach. So the DePauw alum network is definitely strong in terms of helping me navigate the different spaces that I was in my career.
Awesome. Thank you all. So, not that your DePauw experience was not important, but I'm sure these seniors really want to know some advice on getting the job, because that was all we were thinking about when we were in their shoes. So please, if you have, what is some advice that you would give them or anyone who is in the realm of job seeking or trying to find that path after DePauw? What is some advice you wish you would have known if you had been in their shoes?
I can go. So my piece of advice is trust the timing of your life. That's what I always been reminding myself. Trust where you are personally, professionally, intellectually, etc. While DePauw has provided, hopefully, all of us a part of discovering ourselves as a student, a leader, an athlete, etc., the postgraduate life is just the start of discovering ourselves, or at least that's how I look at it. So my piece of advice is just trust the timing of your life. Don't rush into things. If you want to take that gap year, take that gap year. If you want to travel, go travel. The postgraduate life is the true time for you to discover yourself professionally, academically, and professionally. So take that time and use that as a journey to learn more about yourself and what you're interested in and dive a little deeper. You know, DePauw sets us up for great success for the 4 years, but there's so much to do and so much more to grow from when you go into the real world. So just trust it. You know, that purpose is to grow as a human being and discover what you're good at, what you dislike, and what you love to do. And while we still have yet to figure that out, or for me, maybe I haven't figured that out yet, or I'm beginning to discover that, or, you know, figure that out, you might not even discover that or figure that out to you're 80 or 90 when you're almost, you know, ready to leave the earth. But overall, you want to make the best out of every situation. Just trust what God has given us and what the timing of your life is at that time.
My advice would be, I'm the kind of person that, like what Peter said, would give me huge anxiety. I am like a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan kind of person. And obviously, like, recent times have changed all of that. For example, I got my dream legal internship at the largest law firm in Indianapolis, and then half of it got canceled. So instead of 10 weeks, now it's 4 weeks. So my beautiful 5-year plan has been changed. But one thing that I would definitely advise to all of you, since you're in similar situations, I'm sure, is to be proactive. So like the day I found out that my internship got cut in half, I reached out to the offer that I had rejected from another place. I talked to the employers that I was currently working for to see if I could extend my during the semester opportunity to last into the summer. So even if there's a few positions you're seeing that you're like, that's not my number one position, apply anyway. You know, at least see if you can get the offer. Spread your net wide, because you never know like what's going to get canceled. Maybe you go to the interview, you like it more than you thought you would. So I would apply for as many positions as you can in a genuine way, of course. Don't apply to something you absolutely wouldn't want, and make sure every application is quality. But I had a lot of friends from DePauw who had to apply to like 50 jobs before they got 3 interviews, which sounds scary. And I don't mean to be negative, but that's the reality, especially right now. So be proactive about that. And I know right now is finals and it's crazy, but set aside some time to apply for jobs, or at least do some career research, or, you know, something to help figure out a direction you want to go into. And then just be proactive, because you never know what could happen. And it's always good to have more options.
I guess I can go. One of the pieces of advice that I was given before I went off into college was just be yourself and market yourself. And I think looking back on it, I was thinking about like, I can't be myself or market myself if I don't know who I am yet. And so I guess the biggest piece of advice I could give in terms of like navigating the space of like getting a job and making sure like you're making like great decisions is you have to see yourself as your highest self. Like, what does it look like to be at your highest self? What does it sound like? What are you doing? Like, what makes you truly the happiest? And then once you figure out where you are at your highest self, seek those opportunities that allow you to become that highest self in those spaces. So you'll be applying to jobs. If I know that I'm energetic, I'm my best self when I'm like up speaking and I'm performing and I'm doing all these things. Okay, what jobs are out there that help me become my best self in those seats? And then just take a risk and apply. Because if you market yourself in a field that genuinely helps you become your better self, you'll shine in the interview every time.
A piece of advice that really helped me, I, as an undergrad, attended a alumni panel where an alumna, and I hate that I can't remember her name right now, but I remember what she said because it sticks with me to this day. She said, "My connections got me places that my resume couldn't." And I will never forget that. She said, "My connections got me places my resume couldn't." And it stuck with me because, you know, as I sort of had the opportunity to think about it, DePauw, we have what, 2,000 to 2,400 students total on campus. When you graduate, there aren't a ton of DePauw alumni graduating that year with you or graduating, period, right, over a 5-year, 10-year basis in relation to like IU or Purdue or Notre Dame that has these huge alumni networks, right? And the way that I framed it, I saw that is, you know, I'm graduating amongst a very exclusive club. And what you're gonna find is when you walk the streets of, whether it's Fort Wayne, Indiana, Indianapolis, St. Louis, New York City, Chicago, if someone sees you with that DePauw on your chest, on your sweats, on your hat, or whatever, type of, clothing you're wearing that says DePauw, and they went to that institution, they will stop you in the street and they will converse with you. And it's because there aren't a ton of us in the world. And so we are part of this very exclusive, but also very connected alumni network. And so when you know that alumni have that affinity to the university, that if they see you wearing a sweatshirt, they're going to stop you, they're going to say hello to you. They're also very endearing to also tell you about their careers, how they progress in their careers. If you're applying to their company as an intern or as a graduate, they can tell you about that company. I know alumni who will put in a good word for you and vouch for you as well. And that was something for me that was extremely powerful. And I think is what's powerful about our alumni network. So, if you go on LinkedIn, and hopefully you have a LinkedIn right now, if you go on LinkedIn and you think about a company that you are applying to, see what DePauw alumni are there. If you want to get in touch with that alum, go to career services, and someone in career services will help you find that alum. You can go to Anna here, an alumni engagement, and they can try to help you connect with that alum. And because our alumni have such an affinity to the school, someone is going to speak to you. And so someone can help give you some advice that's going to allow you to take some tangible pieces, some tangible nuggets to really help start you in your career where you are right now. And I think that's a theme that I had in my life. It sounds like Jordan has had that, Molly has had that, and it sounds like everyone here has had that. And it's because it has the opportunity to be true for everyone. The alumni is great.
So quick update, we do have a question, and I'm sure that Terrell can talk on this because Terrell is a master LinkedIn person, and I know most everyone on this panel uses LinkedIn. But the question was, how can we reach out to alumni we do not know but have a career in our field or major that we graduate? I guess I'm asking how we can get in touch with more alumni beyond those we have crossed during DePauw. What I was going to say to that is, when I graduated, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know how to contact alumni. And I was very unsure about cold calling. They called it cold calling. And cold messaging alumni feels very foreign because you're not used to it. The more you do it, the better it gets. But also, your professors and your people in your corner that are older than you who might know alumni, use those people to your advantage. Do you have an advisor who might know somebody? Do you have a professor, a faculty member, anyone like that? That's how I met most of my alumni, was asking them who they knew so I could have somebody to offer me over and say, this is Anna, she does this. How can you help her? That sort of thing. Getting your LinkedIn profile tip top is really important. I was told to be more active on my LinkedIn and get my profile more known, and then alumni would see me and go, oh, if you have all your information on there, they won't see you as so much of a stranger because they see the DePauw connection. But I would love to hear what other people have to say about this, about, getting in contact with those alumni, especially when you aren't used to talking to them.
I would say definitely once you all graduate and we can socialize and not be 6 feet apart, the alumni events in each city are a great way to meet alumni from past years. I know the one in Chicago, I met alumni from like 1994, 2001, and like, when I wasn't at DePauw. So I definitely think, I don't know if there's going to be like virtual alumni hangouts, but I definitely think that for me, that was a good way to meet alumni that I didn't cross paths with during my time at DePauw. And I know right when I graduated, they had a welcome event for recent graduates, and I went with like a bunch of my friends, and we met so many alumni, and they were so welcoming and super happy to have us there. So my advice would be to definitely join the Facebook groups, or whenever you get the alumni emails starting soon, to read them and to join them and to just be involved in whatever way possible with that.
An easy way to do that too, like you can follow the Alumni DePauw Instagram account. Super accessible, obviously, and they feature people who have different types of careers and ways to get in touch with them. So that would be easy. I know before any of my interviews, I search through the employer's website to see who graduated from DePauw. And so even if you're not interviewing at a company, but maybe someday you would like to work there, you can look through their list of employees if available, find that person on LinkedIn, and then it's a little bit more organic. You don't have to say like, I stalked you or anything, but that's a good way to find people, because I'm sure at least, at your company, one person will have went to DePauw. Or even, it's not exactly related, but finding people who went to liberal arts colleges, because that's a connection you can make as well.
I would also like to add, utilizing the Hubbard Center. We touched on that a little bit, but definitely utilizing the Hubbard Center. That was a big thing for me, especially being fresh out of school, and I still utilize it to this day, to be honest. And if you are part of any organizations or scholarships like Posse or Bonner, if you're a management fellow, honor scholar, or any other fellowships or scholarships that brought you to DePauw or helped fund you at DePauw, make sure you access those networks too, because those networks have an alumni base from not only DePauw, but other people local in your area and or that went to DePauw specifically and graduated. So if you were to contact Posse, for example, you would contact and ask for, an alumni, a database of an alumni from DePauw for the past 10, 20 years or or whatever subjects or majors you were in. So if you're a computer science major, you would want to know or ask or reach out to those type of fellowships and things like that and ask for those alumni from DePauw. So make sure that's something that I never really utilized as a DePauw senior, is the Posse and Bonner scholarship programs, their networks through DePauw that I should have used as well, because those are a great resource and they're right at hand for you too. And I want to point out too, if you're not a Posse or Bonner scholar, there's other fellowships, organizations like Civic Fellows, Timmy Global Health, other student orgs like that also have alumni that are working through their headquarters and whatnot. So definitely reach out to those different departments and different organizations as well.
Yeah, and to that, I would just quickly add, like, I know reaching directly out to alumni can be a little awkward, and so finding those who can act as like a third party introducer, so to speak, can be helpful also. And this is where the Hubbard Center can be great when you speak to advisors at the Hubbard Center to not only help you think about a career path, but what are some good companies within that in that path, and who are some alumni who we know in the industry or in the area who they can reach out to on your behalf and to facilitate that connection. I have gotten emails from the Hubbard Center about students who were looking to come to New York, already were in New York, and they asked me, are you interested in connecting with this student? And of course, as a DePauw alum, I'm always excited to connect with students who are in the city, thinking about coming to the city, or just in general. And so there are allies on campus who are willing to help facilitate those introductions for you. So definitely use that. Reaching out to, if you do have a little bit of courage to reach out, some really warm places to start are the alumni chapters where you're going to be residing. They are regional, so even if you don't directly live in that exact city, they do cover regions. And if there isn't a specific chapter or alumni association for the region in which you come from, then the Hubbard Center is always a great resource as well, as I mentioned. And my piece of advice, when you finally are connected with an alum, what's going to be important is maintaining that relationship. And the way in which you can maintain that relationship is to use what I call the 3 questions. And it's simple. How are you? How's work? How's your family? You ask those 3 questions on every single phone call. And you get to know that person personally, in their careers, and also, the people that they also care about in life as well. And that's going to help you maintain a relationship over a number of years. And that person is going to get to know you a lot better. The relationship is going to continue to sort of deepen there, and they can seriously advocate for you in the future when you apply for a role that's relevant that they can speak to your skill set.
Awesome. So another question came in, which was, this person found that reaching out to alumni has been helpful and a great source of advice, but sometimes they feel that they get in touch or only see alumni in STEM fields, not what they want to get into. What advice would you give to students trying to find alumni in other fields outside of STEM or business or finance? To that, I would say, for sure, go, as lots of the alumni said, use the Hubbard Center. The Hubbard Center has lists of alumni in other areas, and so do we at Alumni Engagement. We can help connect you. And then, as I said, if you have an advisor or a professor in that area that you feel comfortable with, and you feel like they would be able to help you and be that third party person to help introduce you, that's where I would go first, because you want to be with someone who you feel very comfortable with. So if you feel more comfortable with your professor, use the professor, or if you feel more comfortable with the Hubbard Center, go with the Hubbard Center. That's just me. Anyone else?
I agree. I believe all has been spoken runs true. I will also, so for me, your first go-to should be those that in your department or wherever you're experiencing what you're interested in on campus. Go there first to see if they know someone who's an alum to connect with. Shameless plug, if you're interested in education or the arts, come see me. The great thing about all of our alums, we're all connected to someone who's in the field. So as long as you're in contact with someone, they'll lead you somewhere else. They'll lead you somewhere else to get to where you go. You just gotta keep going. Don't stop.
Awesome. So just so that we get one more question in before this all ends, and then we have more time for some questions at the end. If you have other questions in your mind, start sending those in so we can answer those at the end. But the final question that we wanted to ask, hold on one second, is what is it like leaving DePauw, and what are some misconceptions about graduating and going out into the real world? Because there are a lot of things that we think when we're going out into the real world, and life is a bit different after leaving DePauw. So what do y'all think of that?
I think the biggest adjustment for me, I was going into graduate school, so like the schoolwork aspect was the same, but the biggest adjustment that I did not prepare myself for at all was being away from my friends. And I know a lot of people in my circle kind of just got in a little bit of a slump and a little bit sad because DePauw is all about the people you're with and you're living with your best friends or they live 10-minute walk away, 5-minute walk away. So one big piece of advice I would give is that take care of your social needs and make sure you stay in contact with those people. Make sure even as you're trying to be this young professional, you don't forget to take time for yourself and your friends, and don't feel silly like maybe pursuing opportunities in cities you know your friends are in or things like that. And if you feel yourself just kind of like in a weird rut, make sure you go back to those people that made DePauw so special, because that was a huge thing that just like, because I went from living with 4 girls in one room at Alpha Phi to living by myself in an apartment. And so I just had to make sure that amongst everything I was trying to do professionally, I made time for friends.
So kind of piggybacking off of what Molly said, I would say my thing is I was someone who's very involved in school, and I also played golf. And so since we had both a fall and a spring season, I was so used to traveling every single weekend during our season and constantly being go, go, go. And my first little bit with my career, I didn't have that constant go, go, go in the way that I did at school. And so it was a little bit of an adjustment being used to how busy I was. So my biggest advice is finding a way to still continue to pursue those passions even outside of work. So I don't play as much golf now, but I found a passion for doing bar. And I found a bar studio in the city that I live in that I had a couple friends through work that ended up being members there, and I ended up getting connected with friends there. And so I just would definitely recommend finding those passions outside of work and continuing to see that, because it's very important to have that healthy work-life balance to be able to feel like you're in a good spot mentally and can kind of fully reset yourself every day when you come home and finding those people that you want to surround yourself with.
So Alan Hill said, another great resource is our coaches. They have a lot of connections with alumni from different periods at DePauw. And so thank you. Thank you. That's a really good point, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Also, in regards to what Molly said about having, socializing with people, yes, we know that there is a pandemic, but even texting them, emailing, FaceTiming, it's very easy to get into a shell when you're away from your friends. Sometimes you forget. I went from being around people to going to my hometown where I knew no one. All of my friends had moved away. So that it's very isolating. So even just a text can really just get you out of that bleakness.
I would say a big misconception that I feel like that I kind of realized when I left DePauw was that especially senior year towards the end, everybody was, my classmates were talking about these great jobs they were getting, and I'm getting paid this much, and I'm going to be living in this great city, I have an apartment, all that stuff. And I was still struggling trying to find something. And I found myself comparing myself a lot to like my classmates and my friends, and kind of putting myself down and feeling like I wasn't, I didn't have this great job, and I'm going to go back and live with my parents, and it's the end of the world. And I know a lot of people felt like this. A lot of my close friends did. And all I'm here is telling you that don't do that. And you're going to feel it, but it's hard because once you graduate and like a couple months pass, you see, people on your social media posting like how great their life is, and how their job's going amazing. And I was struggling. I was at a job that I thought I was going to be amazing, but it turned out that it wasn't. And I ended up quitting, and I was applying again. And it was a whole process. And I think I really did come to terms that it's okay to do trial and error, and it's okay to, not have that perfect job right after graduation, that it's okay to, it's not everyone's gonna find that right away. And I'm happy and grateful that now I'm in a position where I'm happy where I am, and like I've come a long way. It's gonna be 3 years in May since I graduated, and I thought right away I was gonna have this great job, but like I said, like just know that your time's gonna come, and every path is unique. So it's hard to not compare yourself to other people's stories. But just know that your story is going to be great and it's going to come out looking awesome. So that's just my advice, because I know I felt like that right when I graduated and the months like post, the summertime. But just know that things will come out great for you.
Yeah, just hitting on that really quick too. I 100% agree with Yessie there. I took about 2 to 3 months off. I was still looking for jobs and everything, but I didn't get my first job till the middle of July of 2018, and we graduated in May. So I was comparing myself to people who had jobs or who had jobs lined up even a semester before. I was happy for them, and my friends were already talking about moving to St. Louis or moving to Indianapolis or Chicago or New York, and I'm sitting here like I'm still looking for a job. But my biggest thing was I didn't know what I wanted to do. Did I want to go back to graduate school? Did I want to go to medical school? Did I want to do a master's program, or did I want to get some full-time work experience? So if you're in that position of not knowing where to start, definitely know that that is okay. And everyone will be at a point where it's hard to initially start. So take that time to understand and learn more about what is out there. Use your skills, use your extra time during this pandemic. I know you're probably dealing with finals and extra work, but as soon as the work is over and we're still at the stay-at-home order, use that time wisely. Use your resources, use your network like we keep talking about. And you're going to be at some low points, especially when you graduate. And I'm sure you guys are right now. None of us had experienced this, but I'm sure you guys are already feeling a little down, not being around your friends and missing out most of the senior, events and whatnot. But know that this is just going to help you understand and show your resilience and your true path and trajectory. And that's what DePauw is all about, is using what circumstances we are in and taking that, turning it around and using it to our benefit. So just remind that and keep that in the back of your head.
I echo everything that was said. Also, I think one of the biggest misconceptions I had was when I graduated in 2014, I thought, okay, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. This is like how I'm going to operate, what I'm going to do. And years later, I'm completely a different person. You're never going to stop evolving. You're never going to stop growing. Every day is a new day. Every experience that you have is going to continue to develop who you are in your highest self. So that first job may not be the best job. That's okay. Get another one. Find your career, find your passion. You're going to constantly be evolving. So continue to take risks, continue to put yourself out there, explore different things. Exploration does not stop in your 4-year degree. It only encourages you and teaches you how to explore once you leave. So continue to keep evolving and doing different things that fulfill your greatest self.
I guess something I would add to that is it's always been helpful for me at sort of each stage that I've been in my career is knowing that the more that I give, the more I also shall receive. And so no matter how little I thought I was making a salary or where I was in my social economic status as a graduate, I always had something to give. If I couldn't give money to DePauw, I gave my time to talk to a current student who is navigating finals or, any challenges that they may face as an undergraduate that I can offer some advice. If I can't give a lump sum of money, then I can give $10 and that can sort of help whatever the cause that I was passionate about continue to move forward. And in doing so, what you'll find as you volunteer, which can be significantly helpful, even as you think about your career path and you may not know what you want to do, so many people have found sort of a purpose through their volunteer work. So whether there's opportunities to work with children or whether there are opportunities to work in a community, first, you meet so many different people who are passionate about that same type of giving as well. And so you kind of build a new sort of community around some of the volunteer work that you could be doing or community service that you do, and that could connect you to so many other opportunities in the future. And then just intrinsically, it's a reminder, every time I give is a reminder that Although I may not have as much as I want, I still live in abundance because I'm able to give to someone else. And that's definitely helpful with mental health, which is going to be extremely important as a graduate as well.
Awesome. Before we end, do we have any do we have any final questions from our attendees? Please feel free to ask those questions. They can be directed towards an individual panelist or in general. So while you do that, go ahead.
It could also be a good time if you want to say an area you're interested in, we could connect you to someone as well.
Yes, hold on. I can unmute the attendees. So if they want to speak, I can unmute them and they can tell us. Hold on one second. Okay, you have all been talking permitted, which means if you want to talk and say what field you're interested in, we can try and give you an idea of some people to contact and talk with. And I will be sending you the information, contact information for our panelists as well, for those who have come to this panel. Okay, so we have technology, not sure what, maybe consulting. Anyone, I know we have some people who might be able to answer that one. Go ahead.
So the company that I work for is actually a consulting firm that does tech work. So we implement Salesforce. So I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for within specifically tech consulting or tech consulting, meaning two different things you're interested in. But I know from living in Indianapolis, there's a large tech community here if you're interested in staying in the Midwest, and there's a lot of different alumni that you can connect with. My biggest advice for tech would actually be to reach out to Steve Foudy in the McDermott Center. He used to work for ExactTarget that is now purchased by Salesforce, and he has a lot of really good tech contacts within Indianapolis that he gave me when I was reaching out to different people for connecting for jobs, so he would be a great resource. And then in terms of consulting, there's a lot of different avenues you can take that in, depending on exactly what you're looking to do. So that might be something a bit more specific to kind of field questions towards, but you're more than welcome to follow up with me. And if you have more specific things about consulting, I'm more than happy to help in any way that I can.
Same. I have friends who work at PackSafe, which is a tech startup in Indianapolis that has quite a few DePauw alum at it already. So if you're interested in that, and then friends who work at Salesforce too, which obviously does a lot of tech stuff.
And I also have some fraternity brothers and also some really good friends. And actually a lot of the DePauw alumni work at Accenture, which is another huge consulting firm, and actually a really great company that's based in Chicago. I think they're based in Chicago, but there is a Chicago location. So definitely feel free to email me. I can put you in contact with them. I know off the top of my head, at least 7 DePauw alumni that are from the classes of 2012 to currently 2019 that work there and can maybe have you shadow or, even have a Zoom call and learn more about what they do.
Then we have the 2 other ones. We have marketing or PR within the beauty industry, which is super cool. And then environmental education and outreach, which is actually what my original career path was, what I had my original job in. So I got you on that. I know who sent that and I will email you. But if anyone else has any help for either of those fields, marketing and PR, we have lots of alumni who are in marketing and PR. I don't know distinctly within the beauty industry, but I do know that we have quite a few alums who are big in marketing for high-end magazines, which might not be directly correlated, but there are little sways that go within there. You might talk to one of those people who markets for a magazine, and they might know people who market for the beauty industry. So there's lots of channels. Anyone else?
Yes, we have. I know a few who are in the beauty industry. Marketing PR is so huge. So definitely reach out to me. I can connect you with them. We also have the founder of NailCon, which is a DePauw alum, Jasmine Gresham. So that's something that's in beauty, and she's an entrepreneur. A lot of the DePauw alum who are in beauty are entrepreneurs, so that's something that you can also look into as well.
I know Anna touched on the environmental aspect, but I was an environmental fellow, and I also majored in environmental biology. Anybody in the environmental fellows program is helpful to reach out to. Amber Hecko runs a big listserv of environmental jobs and environmental alumni. Super helpful. And Professor Everett, Jennifer Everett, is always a good person that you can email.
Well, I just wanted to thank all of our amazing alumni for taking the time out of their busy days and taking the time to help. I certainly appreciate it, and I know our seniors do. Oh, we got another question. Oh, and Alan Hill says, great job, members of the panel. Hang in there, seniors. Tiger pride. Thank you again, sir. We are so thankful for not only our panelists, for the seniors who took the time out of their crazy schedule. I know it is getting down to the wire for all of you. And we send our thoughts to you right now with all of the work you're doing and the stress you're under mentally, physically, all of that. So know that we are here for you. I will be sending emails to the seniors who were here so I can get contact information for these wonderful alumni who were here. So if Jordan had said something that you were like, oh, I need to talk to him, I got you. Or Peter said about his fraternity brothers, I will get you in contact. So thank you all for coming. We are so glad you came. Thank you, alumni. And, go out into the world, spread kindness. That is what we all need right now, and have a fantastic week. Thank you again, everyone.